Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I am doing another Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday being the series I do where I take characters from Mortal Kombat, whether they be main roster or cameo characters. I take them into the Kombat League and I try to earn fatalities or brutalities or really just any kind of finisher at all. Today I am breaking out the character Omni-Man again. I am still using Omni-Man in combination with the Kung Lao cameo. I did end up using the cameo Kung Lao as the cameo for Omni-Man in every single fight that I used with him. Well, that's not entirely true. I did try to use Tremor for a little while, but ultimately I did not get any videos recorded with Tremor as the cameo, so everything that you're going to end up seeing with Omni-Man is going to include the Kung Lao cameo. Anyway, enough about cameos. Today we are going after Omni-Man's brutality. You hear that? Which you hear that is the brutality version of Omni-Man's Mega Clap attack. And that special attack is exactly what it sounds like. It is a Mega Clap. And whenever Omni-Man does that, it does a shock wave, a sound wave, a whatever wave, and it will take out the opponent. It will knock them down. If you were to meter burn the attack, it also destroys projectiles if your opponent is trying to throw something at you while you are doing that attack. So it's kind of handy, especially if somebody's zoning, but it's Omni-Man, and his Viltrumite stance pretty much makes him excellent against zoners anyway, so I never really found myself using the meter burn version of the clap all that often because he has better options for dealing with people who just zone the entire time. But hey, it's still kind of a useful tool if you use it in the right situation, so I'm not going to complain. And it is another special attack for Omni-Man that you can special cancel out of a combo into, so this brutality in theory is not that difficult to get. And since it is a projectile, there's a bunch of different ways you can get it, even if you're not necessarily trying to do a combo into it. And my opponent today is going to be using a combination of Havik and Sektor. I could be wrong about this, but I think this is the very first Havik that has been featured in a video for Fatal Friday. In fact, I'm just going to double check myself here real quick and make sure that is the case. And yeah, from the look of it, this is the very first time I've had a video featuring Havik as the enemy. Although I have a bunch of videos that happen to feature Sub-Zero being the enemy. I have no idea why there are so many Sub-Zero fights in Fatal Friday, but it seems like a lot of people like to use that character. And that being said, it's kind of nice to be fighting against a character that doesn't seem like all that many people use. Like off the top of my head, pretty much nobody is using Havik, Tanya, or Rain. Like those are the three characters I feel like I never see in the Kombat League. I'm sure there's some others on the main roster that I just never see that I'm not thinking about, but those are the three that immediately come to mind that are just really underutilized. Which, I mean, I haven't picked them up and tried them at all anyway, so I can't really say whether or not they're good or whether or not using them is warranted, but just something I noticed. Now, I do know that Omni-Man's brutalities and a lot of his attacks are references to the show and comics Invincible, and I'm trying to think if anyone was killed by the Mega Clap in that show or comic, and I'm kind of drawing a blank. Now, since that is kind of Omni-Man's gimmick in this game, I'm sure somebody in that show or comic was killed by a similar attack to the Mega Clap, or the brutality version of it, you hear that. But yeah, I can't think of who. Like in previous videos, I did a fatality and a brutality video for Omni-Man already that kind of featured how War Woman and Red Rush died. It's probably some other random guardian of the globe that was killed by this thing. I'm just forgetting who. But regardless, we are trying to make Havik the very next person to fall victim to that attack. Now, I do only end up getting the brutality once in this video. Normally, I like to try and shoot for twice, finishing both rounds with the brutality that I want to show off. But sometimes I just don't get that lucky, and you know what? That's fine. As long as I'm able to show it off in some way, I'm happy with that. Also, my opponents at certain points throughout the fight did a little bit of talking, or maybe there was a little bit of background noise. It was kind of hard to tell, but it was a little bit disruptive when trying to watch the video back. So maybe I'm cutting out that extra noise just so it doesn't get annoying, because trying to hear what little bit of the fight or background noise there is, and then hearing whatever the hell was going on that microphone. Yeah, it sounds like that might be kind of not a fun thing to listen to. Now, since Havik is a somewhat rare sight whenever I'm fighting in the Kombat League, I'm actually not very familiar with the matchup and what I should be looking out for, what's punishable for Havik and what's not. Like, you can kind of get a feeling for what's probably punishable from him. Like, I'm pretty sure his little really slow overhead attack and a couple of other specific ones might be punishable, but I don't know that for a fact. I do try to strike at Havik whenever I see certain things that look like they were kind of slow. Oh, and Havik's Fatal Blow. That's also another overhead attack that he does where he swings his arm, I think, at you. And normally, if you just regular block it, it's going to knock you back a little bit. So it's a little bit harder to retaliate and punish the opponent. But you can up block that fatal blow, which will not knock you back. And then you can much more easily punish them for trying to do the fatal blow against you. One thing that I kind of caught on to was this person was trying to do, I don't know what it's called, like his little blood link attack or soul link attack whenever there's just red energy attaching Havik to you if he ends up landing a prerequisite attack. And I know that whenever that red energy is connecting the two characters, Havik is going to do this little breakneck thing to himself, and then it's going to cause you to do the same thing to yourself. And whenever your character kind of snaps their own neck, it gives Havik the opportunity to combo off of that. Now, this Havik user was going for that a few times, at least twice to my recollection. So I kind of knew it was coming there. I have no idea what kind of combos this person might have been able to do off of that, but I was not interested in finding out. So instead, every single time I saw that red energy connecting my Omni-Man to Havik, I immediately did a meter burn version of whatever the hell Omni-Man's chest bump attack is. I woke up with that every single time, so I had armor, and that way I disrupted whatever the hell Havik was going to do with that red energy. And as you can tell by my complete lack of technical terms, I am definitely confirming the fact that I don't know shit about Havik. I am just trying to brute force my way through it and hope for the best. It is definitely a character that I should probably take into practice mode at some point, but since it's such a rarely used character, it has not really been much of a priority. But fortunately, I was having a great deal of success throwing out the cameo Kung Lao's low hat and then having Omni-Man jump up in the air and do his overhead that bounces the enemy against the ground and leaves them open to a combo if you time it right. But I was able to land combos off of that fairly consistently and certainly consistently enough to eventually get the brutality.
Have I proven my point?
Brutality! Omni-Man wins.
And there it is, the you hear that brutality. And like I said, I did not combo into it or anything crazy like that. I kind of just kept throwing it out there because at some points, Havik was going to have to close the distance between me and him in order to try making any sort of an attempt to win the fight. After all, since Havik does not really have a great deal of projectiles, he was going to have to close that distance. He had to do some sort of combo or something along those lines. Otherwise, he was not going to be able to make up the difference between our health. And fortunately, since he had to advance on me, it left him open to me landing the brutality. Also, just a random thought, but the skinless Havik that it leaves behind on the ground is giving me a lot of Mars Attacks vibes. Like the Martians from Mars Attacks looks exactly like a little version of Havik. Now, I have not done that brutality a great deal, so maybe every single character kind of looks like that whenever their skin gets clapped the hell off by Omni-Man. But it's just kind of cool that Havik ends up looking like a little Martian guy. Anyway, enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into this outro and get this video wrapped up. And also, I will be showing the You Hear That Brutality one more time at the very end of the outro so it can be enjoyed as we are parting ways. So yeah, that was the You Hear That Brutality, which you get off of the Mega Clap attack for Omni-Man. Overall, this fight was okay. Like, I feel like I kept dropping a bunch of combos, and that's kind of a bummer. But even though I was kind of screwing up a good amount, I did just enough to win the fight and win it without too much difficulty. I think the opponent only took one round against me, so it wasn't like I was struggling, which is nice. So yeah, all in all, it was a pretty smooth experience, and we got the brutality. I hope you enjoyed getting to see it in this video for Fatal Friday. And if you enjoyed this video or other Fatal Friday videos, consider checking out the other stuff that I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. If you're just into the Mortal Kombat stuff, I have played through a few of the story modes for Mortal Kombat 9, 10, 11. So yeah, go check those out. Anyway, that is going to be it for me today. I am Thor, take care, and I will see you next time.
Have I proven my point?
Brutality! Omni-Man wins.